we are in the about to approach, coming this Thursday night, the third week of the Omer. And as we've mentioned before, the Omer is a way of, through this counting, being very conscious about trying to embody and live the divine qualities called the Sfirot in Kabbalah, or the Midot, the measurements or the qualities. And each quality that we strive to practice is also a quality that we want to bring into our meditation practice. We've done the week of Chesed, which we really talked about as being able to be present to existence, right? Just being, just pure being in this moment as a gift. What is it like to really be able to orient ourselves towards every aspect of this moment, no matter what is going on, and just without even getting caught into the content of what's going on, just to be present with the very life force that is present everywhere as a gift. Then last week, we moved into Gevurah, which gets translated as boundary, as judgment, as in making judging between one thing and another, or discernment. It's also, as far as boundary, it's about creating protection around what it is that's important. And in Gevurah, in our meditation, there is a real focus on being able to notice that our attention and our ability to be present with the moment, with whatever the focus of our attention is, breath, body, everything around us, is motivated by our choice, And our choice is motivated by our desire. And so how to feel the quality of our ability to set boundaries and direct our attention into a particular area, that is Gevurah. So this coming week, we enter into the Midah of Tiferet. Tiferet gets translated. You can kind of go two different directions with it. And what I want to see is how those directions come together. One direction is compassion. So compassion, it comes down to the heart to be able to be present to what's around us in a way that is not only has understanding, but is able to welcome in whatever is going on around us. The word for compassion in Hebrew, rachamim, is connected to the word rechem, which means womb, W-O-M-B. So a womb as being something that includes, that takes care of, that nurtures, that comforts. The same idea about compassion from Jewish perspective is being able to be present with life around us in a way that includes and embraces. The other translation of, or not translation, but the other meaning of the quality of Tiferet is truth. Truth. And truth as being something very different from Gevurah, right? If Gevurah is about judgment, being able to say yes to this and no to this, that actually has nothing to do with truth. There has to be something deeper that is, we want something deeper to be motivating our discernment, our judgment, something that is connected to truth, as in what is. And we're aware that as human beings, truth is so subjective, right? We have our own experience, and my experience may be different than your experience. But truth from a mystical perspective is one that is saying there is a reality in any moment that is non-debatable. And how do I enter into and be present with what is true in a moment in a way that is without bias? And is that possible? Is it possible to be with the moment in a way that has no bias. And the direction, I think, and this is where the two meanings come together, is compassion. Compassion is the entranceway to truth. That when we're able to have, and I'm going to be very cautious with using this word, but I'm going to say when our hearts are open, and my qualifier to say when our hearts are open is so much of the time we think about heart as mean our emotional self. Like when I'm open emotionally, then that's the gateway to truth. But that's not what we're talking about here, because we know that emotions are hardly a guide, all the time to what is true. Emotions are so volatile and so subjective. So when we say our heart is open, there's a way that I am fearlessly present with what is and being able to have an attitude of embrace. Now, having an attitude of embrace doesn't mean that I compromise the setting of boundaries, but it means that I'm willing to completely be present and be right in the middle of what it is and let it all in. And it's that place of compassion, of open heart, that is the gateway to truth, that allows us to try to transcend, or to move in the direction of transcending our own biases that keep us from judging the moment in a certain way or resisting the moment in a certain way. So that's where compassion and truth come together. And that's gonna be our practice for this morning. And I've muted you all because we're going to we're going to go into a nigun, a melody, and then into the meditation. And again, feel free to sing in your home along with me. Yananai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai. Yananai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai. Yananai, nai, 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 nai. So find a comfortable position that you can sit in for a period of time without moving. And it's good to have your spine be straight, however you're sitting. Doesn't need to be rigid, but being upright inspires attention. And just begin by bringing your awareness to your body in space, noticing the contact of your bottom on the seat, where the bottoms of your feet meet the floor, or the contact of your heels on whatever surface you are. As you stay present with that contact of your bottom and the chair, the seat, and your feet, wherever they are, notice the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head, the space between your ears, the way your arms hang out of your shoulders and the resting place of your hands. At the same time that you are aware of your body in space, all the touch points, the outline of your body. Also notice the movement of breath as it enters the nostrils or the mouth. Let your belly be soft as the breath enters into the body and fills. Notice that point where the inhale reaches its maximum length and switches to an exhale. And notice the gentle contraction of the belly and the chest as the air leaves the body. As you stay present with that movement of breath as it comes in and out of your body, and you're present with your body in space. You can also be aware of the sounds around you. Again, letting the experience of sound mingle with the awareness of body and breath. And as you take each breath in, imagine that you are breathing in through your heart area. That almost like your heart in your chest is an organ of breath. So with every inhale, the air comes into the heart. And with every exhale, it comes out of the heart. You can imagine your heart area like an open window, that just as the breath goes in and out of it, it's like a gentle breeze that moves in and out of an open window. You can even have the image of a silk curtain that waves in the breeze as the breath goes in and out of that heart area. So as you breathe in and out of that heart area, you're aware of body, of sound. And that breathing in and out of the heart area is an opening of embrace. Imagine almost that another image to add to the window is that your arms are wide open from your heart, ready to embrace and welcome every aspect of this moment in the same way that you would welcome somebody that you love into your arms. As you breathe in and out through your heart, open yourself wide to this moment. Embrace this moment. It's not enough to be just present with the moment. We want to embrace it, to have our orientation coming from our heart area to be one that says, yes, come in. I want you here. And that's for every. It could be body sensations that are uncomfortable. It can be sounds that pull at your attention. It can even be thoughts in the mind that come through and captivate your attention. With every breath in through the heart, you say yes to all of it. I want you all here. So I'm going to be quiet in just a few moments and allow us to practice and be together. And the direction is to be in the moment with an attitude of embrace. And you can continue to use the breathing in and out of the heart if that's helpful for you in having an attitude of embrace of the moment. But you don't have to keep your attention on breathing out in and out of your heart. What's important is the attitude of embrace. That's the practice. And you'll notice that it's a constant intention to not only be here with all the aspects of the moment, the breath, the body sensations, the sounds, but to be in with an attitude of welcoming it all in, of saying yes to it. It's an active attitude, not just a passive receiving. And again, as we sit in silence and you find that your mind, your attention gets captivated by one particular thing, as soon as you awaken to it, bring your attention back to the movement of breath, the awareness of body and sounds, and that attitude of embrace. Any comments, reflections on this morning's practice? The idea of being present with an attitude of embrace, was that something you were able to sustain? You know, if we've meditated together for a while, you'll know that you know, there's a lot of different techniques out there. There's a lot of useful ways to direct attention, but one that is pretty, whatever way, the kind of what I would say is the thing that resonates most for me is to be able to meditate in a way that nothing is a distraction. That really, and that doesn't mean that there isn't things that pull at our attention, but that the attitude, the way that we orient ourselves to the moment is one in which there is room for it all. There's room for it all, you know, whether you want to use the metaphor of the divine symphony that we've used before, where everything from breath and sounds and everything that's going on is an instrument playing in the orchestra of the moment. That's another image of a way to welcome that. But it really is, because again, what we come down to, I feel like this has become like a motto, I guess, for me, but we become what we practice. We become what we practice. And so really the question is who are the kinds of people that we want to be? How do we want to approach life and respond to life? And how does our practice, our meditation practice, our spiritual practice, be something that is directly moving us towards that, in the direction that we want to go? And specifically here, you know, if you look at Tiferet as this combination of compassion and truth, try to make how does this then translate to our everyday life? Some possibilities. I'm in a conversation with somebody that is saying something that is really hard for me to hear. My attitude of embrace, how do I bring an attitude of embrace to that, of compassion to that, as a way of entering towards truth? It doesn't mean that an attitude of embrace means that I agree or that I think the same way. It doesn't mean that my attribute of gevurah, of discernment, can't be present in there. But usually what we do is our gevurah, our judgment, is what is first and foremost operative when we're in those experiences. And what the practice here is to say, no, don't lead with gevurah, lead with tiferet, as I'm hearing this, what does it mean to really open to where the other person's coming from, to understand it, to be there with it, to be in the middle of it, to try it on? And really, in order to do that, I have to be really secure in my own perspective or life to know that just because I embrace and I give myself to this moment doesn't mean that I'm going over to the other side, whatever that other side is. But that I can, that I can take it in. And then once I've really absorbed and I've embraced and I've experienced, then the place of Gevurah can come in and bring discernment. Like, oh, this part of what you're saying makes sense to me. This part doesn't. And most important, in a conversation like that, there's connection. There's connection with the other person. It's about the relationship. As I think you mentioned, it's not about being right. It's not about proving your point. That particular attitude of embrace. And certainly, we're experiencing that in so many ways. We've been experiencing it in our political world. We've experienced it with this coronavirus, and that people are taking very different approaches to how they're responding to this. And on one side, there's the approach that says, I'm really upset with you for doing this social physical distancing because I love you and I want to be with you and I want to hang out with you, and you're not doing that. And maybe there's a piece that I take personally and that you should do differently, or I don't want my freedoms to be taken away. And then on the other side, there's this perspective of, hey, we're all in this together and we're only going to get rid of this pandemic if we do it. And I'm having a real hard time with the fact that you're seeing it this way. How do we bring the attitude of embrace into whatever this is? Again, it's not agreement, but it's embrace. How does that move into us? How do we, when we walk down the street to somebody and we're passing them, can we look them in the eyes? Can we be with an open heart, even as we're 6 feet away and going in, that we don't have to put the boundary and the filter on and the disconnection because the fear in that way. So more than ever right now, we need it. And I think that's a really good insight, is that being able to be in sadness and vulnerability is the gateway to compassion. Because if we're not comfortable with feeling it in ourselves, we're not going to be comfortable in really feeling it in somebody else, right? And there's that difference between compassion and pity, right? In pity, we remove ourselves from somebody's experience and we look down, and we might feel bad, but they're not us. They're not us. Whereas in compassion, it can just as well be us. And so then what that means is that if vulnerability and feeling our own pain is a doorway to compassion, that also becomes the doorway to truth, if we're following this piece as well. And what you're bringing to this whole, that is so vital, cornerstone to everything that we're talking about, which is having that space for all parts of yourself. That's the gateway to truth. And a lot of the times we get confused, is that we are so outward focused because of whatever the experiences we've had growing up. There's a belief that we have that maybe some aspects of ourselves aren't worthy of compassion, aren't worthy of whatever those things are. And so not only does that affect how we are outwardly, but it also affects our ability to perceive what's true in ourselves and in the world. Beautiful. Okay, well, we're gonna close for this morning.